Welcome to the Cash Flow Project Podcast. Are you looking to better your financial situation by increasing your cash flow? Too busy to hunt for real estate deals or don't know where to start? Then you're in the right spot. Join us as we dive in and talk about investing for cash flow using multifamily real estate.
Welcome to the Cash Flow Project. I'm your host, Vince Gethings from Tri-City Equity Group. And today on the show, we have Adam La Barr. Adam is a proud father, an Air Force veteran, a commercial multifamily investor, and a coach. He's also the co-owner of the hugely successful Active Duty Passive Income, or APDI as we call it, where he helps coach and mentor over 40,000 members, military members, veterans, and their families on how to invest in real estate and reach financial freedom. Adam, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's just get right into it. Who are you?
Besides the little bio there. So, like Air Force veteran, now Air Force spouse, because my wife is military. Father of a couple boys who are the biggest reason why I do investing and jump ship from the military. I help coach, mentor folks on real estate. I buy real estate, and that's pretty much my whole life now. So,
got it. So, where did this journey, the whole real estate thing, get started? Because active duty military, especially with jobs where it's like you're on the go a lot, deployed a lot, things like that over the last 18 years. How did you get started in real estate, and where did you find the time? What was that first thing that started, catalyst that started getting you down this road?
So it's how much time do we have? It could be a long story, right?
Yeah, all day.
I was like a paycheck to paycheck guy for a long time in the military, as most military folks are, especially on the enlisted side. So I was very paycheck to paycheck moving along. Not that I was like getting myself into a bunch of debt, but I had no idea about investing. I knew what I saw for my family, and that's just what I kept doing. And then I ended up getting married, and my wife had this thing called a savings account that baffled my mind. I had never heard of such a thing. Why you get a paycheck every 2 weeks? Like, I was out by that point, but I was like, you get paid all the time. Why do you need a savings account? So I started to realize, boy, I need to straighten up. Like, she knows what she's doing. I need to figure this out. So I started researching, trying to understand what it was that I needed to do on the investing side. And my wife said, hey, we should look at real estate. Her mom owned a house. Her grandma owned a couple houses. So it was just like, so she thought that we were just going to go and buy a house. And then the more research I did, the more I said, I think I want to buy an apartment building. So it was more just self-education, trying to work through it, trying to understand what the benefits were here, benefits were there. It took me about 4 years because, as far as I knew, there were no other people that were interested in this but me. So I just would listen to podcasts, read books, and that's kind of how I got my taste of what I wanted to do. And then I was always that one step, like I need one more thing and then I'll be comfortable to buy something. I need one more thing and then I'll be comfortable. So I was in that analysis paralysis stage for a while. And then I said, well, I'm going to go to a conference and then I'll feel comfortable. And then, and I was listening to, you obviously are well aware of Jake and Gino. So I was listening to them a lot and I really liked them, and they had the coaching program. So I said, let me give them a call and find out. So I went and I had lunch with Gino and Josh years ago. And I said, yep, I really like these guys. I'm going to jump in that program. And within 6 months, I was partnered on a deal. I was a passive investor on another deal, and it just took off. So it was really just getting around like-minded, like-hearted people that were like trying to do the same stuff. So I realized again that I was not the only person that wanted to do this. And that was really what propelled me forward on making that happen. So that was a shortened version of the journey.
I love it. And it's, the power of just getting into a community, you said, with like-minded people with similar goals, and how quickly you can kind of shatter your own insecurities and limiting beliefs by getting in a room with 200 other people or whatever, 500 other people that all are at different stages of that same journey. It's very powerful stuff. Because, a lot of people, you have a little bit of advantage because you said your wife was already kind of into that investing mindset and her family and stuff like that. But a lot of people, they get this bug, they start getting like maybe bigger pockets or some of the podcasts, like the Jake and Gino podcasts or something like that, or any of the other ones, or this one. And, they get all excited to get the passion. They go tell their spouse or go tell their family, and they're like, that seems risky. You should just put it in the stock market. Yep. Let's go buy a mutual fund for, 6%. interest,
Yeah.
or something like that. And that's what a lot of people contend with. So they have all this energy and then it kind of just fizzles out because they don't have that support. So it's really awesome that you joined a community. I think you joined the best one, but you joined any community just to get around the groups of people. And there's plenty of great communities out there. I'm just biased, but
of course.
Yep. So it is, that's awesome. So what was that first deal, the first real estate deal you did? Not the one you went LP for, but the one you actually
GP.
led.
So we did a joint venture with me and a couple of the other guys in the Jacogino community. And it was a 62 unit apartment in Tennessee. So that was my very first investment property I ever bought, was a 62 unit apartment. And the only experience I had ever had buying something before that was a single family house that we lived in for a couple of years as on a military assignment, and sold it when we moved. But if I'd have known then what I know now, right? So, it was like a jumped right in, and it was one of those type of deals that I'll say that you either run so far away from real estate after that you never want to look at it again, or you realize if we can handle this, we can handle any deal that comes at us type of situation. It was nothing went according to plan. Contractors walking out literally vacated the entire property when that was not at all part of the plan. There was like 3 buildings, and we were supposed to vacate one building, renovate it, while the other 2 buildings were still renting and paying, helping pay all the bills and all that type of stuff, and then move the good tenants and nothing. Like everybody. So it was like a C-class property in a B- area with D-class tenants. So it was not bad until the D-class tenants realized what was happening, and everybody stopped paying rent. Like the sheriff had to come and knock on everybody's door and kick everybody. Like, we had to evict. We literally evicted every single person out of the property. And then a contractor walked out on us, and it was a very difficult property and a lot of stuff to work through. But in the end, it taught me a ridiculous amount about partnerships, about contracts, about working with the city, about all sorts of stuff. In the end, we didn't lose money on the deal. We ended up selling that one after a majority of the rehab was done, and it ended up working out okay. But wow, it was a roller coaster there for a while.
What do you think the biggest lesson learned from that first deal was?
So I think it's semi twofold, right? Personally, I wanted to be more involved. I wasn't as involved. I was living in Japan at the time, so it made it a little bit more difficult as well. But I used that as an excuse to also not be as involved, where I should have been more involved, to have better communication with my partners, to understand what was happening, and B, to trust. Like, while this was my first deal, it wasn't my, first time dealing with contractors. It wasn't my first time. I had a lot of experience when I was in the military in various different arenas that I took for granted. So don't fear applying your knowledge from a different arena, from a different skill set that you have, into your new desired skill set. So I think those are two large things that I learned a lot. Communication with your partners, making sure that it's good to go and you're staying active, and then, use the skill set you have. I was a little standoffish, thinking, well, I don't know what I'm doing. The guys that are on the ground have done more real estate than me. I'll just kind of let them run with it. And they did a great job doing that. But I wish that I was more involved. And I think we could have, not that I could have fixed the world on this property, but I would have learned more if I was more involved, and B, it would have been more helpful for the partnership. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And I always advise people, especially when they're getting into their first partnerships, is to always do like a SWOT analysis on themselves. What are your strengths and weaknesses, and figure out, okay, what do you like doing? What do you don't like doing? What do you have the secret, superpower that you're really good at? Maybe it's something transferable from another career that you once had, and how can that bring value to the team? A lot of people don't think that they have transferable skills when they start the real estate journey. And then they find out that, wow, this other job I had, maybe it's not the last job, but maybe 3 jobs ago, or whole nother career. Like, this is really useful that I learned this skill, whether it's, dealing with contracts or really good with Excel or something like that. There's always something that you have that you can bring to the team. So the point is, like, trying to get that personal kind of evaluation of what those skills are that you can bring to the team early on. And I also want to touch back on something. You said your first deal outside the single family or the VA, use VA home loan, right? For the first one? Yeah. So outside the VA home loan deal, is you did a 62 unit. And I know we kind of glossed over that the first time, but I definitely want to go back and touch on that because you skipped probably 10 years worth of pain dealing with like single family rentals and duplexes and things like that by going straight to a 62 unit. Did you have like an intentional thought on that, or it was just you got the guys together, or the team members together from the group, and that was the first deal that just happened to happen?
So there was intentional thought, and it was still the first deal that kind of came across. Not really the first one that came across, but the first opportunity that looked promising that came across my desk. So the more research I did, because like I said, I did about 4 years of research before I actually bought something. I realized I wanted to buy apartment buildings because I felt like I was already that 10 years behind, right? Because I was in my 30s. It was like, man, I really need to figure this out. I think I just turned 30 or just over 30, and I was like, I'm already years behind. I need to get something moving, you know. So I knew it was going to be apartment buildings, and then obviously you go into a community like Jake and Gino. That's what we're focusing on is apartments and making that happen. So it was intentional to do apartments. And then that 62 unit came up as an option, and it was like, I did some research, did some understanding, talked to the partners, and jumped on in and made it happen. So yeah, it was half intentional and half I think Gino always talks about it, right? People say that it just landed in my lap. Well, no, you set up the stage to get it to that point to where it quote unquote landed in your lap, right? So, but yeah, that's kind of the way that one went down.
Okay, and have you gone full cycle on that? Or are you still on?
We did. Yep.
Nice.
Yep.
And after going full cycle and getting that check at the end, would you have done anything differently as far as the scale of that first deal? Would you have gone smaller, or would you have gone bigger, or just like that was right? That was the perfect size first deal. What are your thoughts?
Size wise, I think that I didn't have any issue with that. I wouldn't have had a problem going larger, and I wouldn't have had a problem going smaller. I'd say that the biggest determining factor was it was a huge bite to chew. And it was probably way too big of a bite for me to chew for my first deal if I was doing it traditionally, right? Like if I were to advise somebody, I would never advise them to do what I did for their first deal. If you want to buy a 62 unit for your first deal, absolutely go for it. But don't buy a 62 unit that needs $10,000 a door and is in need of a lot of work, and there's a lot of problems with the people. And they're like, don't do that, right? Unless you have somebody very, very experienced in that realm to do that. So I'd say that was my biggest point. Part there, not necessarily the size. I don't have an issue if I had bought an 80 units, or something like that. So I tell people buy as big as you are comfortable buying with the right team behind you. So as long as you have those two things, if you're comfortable buying that one and you have the right team for it, go for it.
Got it. Yep. The team, like I said, if it's your first deal, partner up with somebody that's taken down, 2, 3, 4 of these business plans before, and just learn from them, be a sponge. Awesome. So what are you working on now, or how big is your portfolio now, and what are the plans for 22?
If you would have asked me a year ago, I would have told you I have just under 400 doors. And then now here we are a year later, and I've got 71 that are potentially selling soon. So I've been kind of restructuring my life and restructuring my business plan based off of kind of some experiences that I had. And I'm moving away from, I've had a couple syndications and different things like that. And I'm kind of moving away from the syndications and trying to redirect my energy into joint ventures with partners and friends that, where I get to keep a little bit more of the deal and I get to have a little bit more say in what's going on. And that's kind of where I'm restructuring. So majority of my portfolio we sold last year. And now we've got, hopefully we're going to be having a signed contract on selling something else that we have now. So now I'm refocusing. I'm hopefully submitting some LOIs next week on some properties that I've been underwriting this week, and move on to partnerships from here.
Got it. So what is the thought process of doing that? 'Cause, you hear a lot of the gurus out there, or just books or whatever, that go start syndications or these syndicate groups and take down 300 unit deals, and that's the pinnacle of multifamily investing. So what is your thought process on that, of how you're kind of moving away from that model?
So I obviously talked to a few of those people that have told me that, and I did it, and then I realized that. So the most recent property that we sold was an 80 unit apartment. It was a syndication, great property, doing really well. It did great through COVID. If I had a partnership on it, we would have just refinanced it and moved on. They pulled the money out, bought another property, continued holding on to that for cash flow. But because I have investors and I have to be wise with my investors and take care of their money and be financially smart with it, I ended up saying, hey, we can get more for a sale than we can for a refi. And I might have a lot more for the sale than we did for a refi. So we sold it because it made sense for the investors. So I lost a lot of my control in my future by getting rid of a property that could have done really well and continued to give me cash flow. So the more I started to learn and realize, I'd rather have a 20 unit apartment with one of my buddies that we split 50-50 than a 100-unit apartment that I syndicate. And I have to deal with investors. I have to deal with all the paperwork with investors. I have to deal with emails. I have to split the property and give a majority of it to the investors. Like, I'd rather have that control and say, you know what, me and my partner have this thing going. We're going to keep this thing for 20 years and refinance, or we just move on and say, hey, this is a great time for me to sell this asset. But we have the control because it's what we want for our financial future, not because we're taking care of our investors. Which, if you have investors, you darn well better be taking care of your investors. That's your job, taking investors on, which is exactly why we did what we did. But that's also why I'm redirecting my efforts now. That's where my thoughts went.
Yep, absolutely. And you hit the nail on the head with that. With the, as a sponsor, you become a fiduciary for your investors' capital, and they will always come first. Over whatever your personal interests are, your personal plans are. Investors will always come first. And then, one of the things that you're talking about of transitioning to more partnerships or personal, ownership. In Tri-City, we're doing it as well. And the thought that we came up with is legacy properties. That's what we're getting robbed of with that syndication model, because the syndication model does tend to be more transactional. Everybody's on a 5-year timeline. It's just how the industry is. It's a very useful tool, especially if you don't have a lot of capital to start. You can use OPM and you can take down some assets and get some equity. But in order to capture that equity, it's transactional. And then, of course, the investors want their money back. Before they're, whatever. So they want to keep churning and use that, because they're using the velocity model to grow wealth. It's keep deploying the same cash and recycling it over that way. So when we had our 2022 planning meeting at Tri-City Equity Group, one of the things that we thought of is exact same thought process you did was, we have some of these assets that they're really nice. They're B-class properties, B-plus neighborhoods. We could hold on to this thing for, 10, 20 years, but it's a syndication. So it's most likely going to transact. So we're consciously making an effort to churn our portfolio too, to get more legacy properties under that JV structure or partnership structure that, 3 or 4 people are in, and we can find a nice, B-plus asset and B-plus neighborhood or A neighborhood and hold that thing for 20 years. Because that's where some serious wealth creation and preservation is holding as well. So I think that's awesome. I think a lot of people are kind of maturing into that space there of doing more JVs, and it's awesome that you're doing it as well.
I'm excited to keep pushing that forward for sure, because it's I tell people, if you want to do a syndication, just realize it's exactly what you just said. It's a transaction, right? Mm-hmm. And if you're using that to raise that money that you want to go buy your own properties, that's not a bad route to go, right? Take the acquisition fee and put it into another property that you own or you and your partner own. But like you said, it's not the pinnacle of multifamily investing. That's not how you build wealth. You could build some money. You get your transaction payments, and that's it. But it's a transaction. It's a job.
Yep. It is a very useful tool. That's in a tool belt. That's how I always kind of use the analogy for. Great. Well, so doing some churn in the portfolio, moving down to Tampa. What's next for Adam and this new transition down to Florida? And what are your goals for 2022?
Yep. So my goals for 2022, transition down to Florida, which I'm really excited about. My wife was born and raised in Tampa, so we're going home to hopefully retire and be stable down there. So My intent is to buy at least, I want to bring 5 friends into real estate. So again, going with my redirection of doing joint ventures is also to bring some friends that have been, follow me and saying, hey, I really want to get involved in real estate, and like bring 5 friends this year into a real estate deal one way or another, a multifamily deal, not just a real estate deal. But so to bring a friend in, close on a deal. So I'm looking mostly in Florida right now. I've got a couple guys that I've chatted with in other markets that I'm going to start looking in because they're solid boots on the ground. So really, I've got a focus to have 5 deals closed hopefully this year. It's a pretty hefty goal, especially where the market is at right now, and trying to find ones that actually make money. But if it ends up being 4 and I bring 2 people in on one of those deals, then I can at least meet my goal of bringing 5 friends into real estate. So,
outstanding. After you said you had 400 something units. What's the biggest kind of like tip you have for either building a portfolio or maybe a specific, more granular skill that you think an investor should have in order to kind of grow and maintain and manage a successful portfolio?
I'll go back to the team aspect. Have a solid team around you. Find a solid partner. Understand that having 100% of the deal is not always the best. Having a good team around you that complements you, right? So if you're a left brain person, you bring in a right brain person, and that's very simplified. But making sure that you find a solid team, find solid partners that you can talk back and forth with each other. You guys can work well together. If one person's really good at underwriting, and then the other person better be good at talking to people, so that way you guys can have a good yin and yang relationship, build that team together, and push yourself forward. Because it was, military or not, right? Even when I was out of the military, it's still one of those things like, somebody's got to be on some of the calls. Somebody's got to. So, if I'm out somewhere and I something happens, I need to have a partner that I can rely on. I once in a while would like to take a vacation with my family, so I'd like to have partners that I'm able to rely on to be able to make that happen. But build relationships. Tell everybody you're a real estate investor, and have good solid team behind you. Know what you need for your team. With your, I'm going to say, like I think I've said team 14 times already, but with your team, you're going to be able to go far. So make sure you have a good team behind you.
Love it. Good advice. All right. Well, as we wind down this show, last words or advice before we head into the fire round?
I think if I haven't said it already, it's one of those things I took 4 years of walking around thinking that I didn't know what I was doing, and you're never going to know what you're doing until you go out and do it. So again, find a partner. Go out and do it. Like, don't just sit here and don't listen to another podcast. Like, by the time I'm done talking here, I hope you have paused it and went and sent an email to a friend and said, you know what? I think it's time that we go and do this, right? Because I did 4 years of wasted time. No, I shouldn't say it that way. It wasn't wasted time. I learned a lot, but dagnabbit, I could have done it a whole lot faster. Push yourself out there. Go and actually make the transactions. We just, with APDI, we just on one of the mastermind groups had a couple guys, Navy guys that graduated from the Naval Academy, found each other in master's program at Purdue. Last year, they closed on 5 deals together. 23 years old, 24 years old, they closed on 5 deals together with other partners because they put themselves out there. They went and find folks. They said, hey, I learned a little bit, but they know a lot. I'm going to go partner with them. So they took smaller slices of other deals to make sure they were getting involved and do stuff. So do the same. Don't sit back and wait.
Love it. Great advice. All right. So get into the fire round here. Same questions we ask everybody, and just whatever comes to mind. So what is the best book you recommend other than Rich Dad Poor Dad?
Secret to the Millionaire Mind, I think it'd probably be one of them. And the reason I say that is, you can use it with more than just money, but it really helps you kind of break down your thought processes on why you think the way you think about things. So if you could break that down and change your mindset on money, change your mindset on what you're focused on, I think it could really change your vectors for a fantastically positive result.
Got it. I just wrote it down. I think I have that. Read that one. What? There was another one. There was like a prequel to that too, right? Like Millionaire Next Door. Is that the same author?
So nope, different author.
Different author. Okay.
The Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, I think it's T. Harv Eker, if I recall correctly. And
sounds right.
Millionaire Next Door. I forgot who wrote that one, but yeah.
Got it. All right.
But both great books. But you're gonna if you're listening to it on Audible, right? It's especially right because he has you like put your finger to your head and say, "I'm a millionaire" or something like that, right? Or like, "I have a millionaire mind" or something, right? So it kind of feels cheesy, but he explains what it is in there. But really, the content is fantastic.
Awesome. I'm excited. What is your superpower?
I'd say that what I've seen as my superpower is being able to, I'm rather good at analyzing deals and underwriting conservatively and being smart about it. Everybody and their brother says they underwrite conservatively, but I've been pretty successful in my underwriting and gone full cycle on 3 deals, doing well with that. About to do well on a 4th one, but it's I think I'm an odd ball that can underwrite and still talk to people. So I think that is a good combination for me to have. So I don't know if that's really a superpower, but we'll go with that.
Absolutely. What's the biggest lesson you've learned over your career, other than the ones you've already mentioned? Maybe the third.
I've learned a lot of them, right?
Yeah.
And I think honestly, this one is kind of triggered even with the new year and my redirection is trust yourself, right? I've had a harder time with that, and we all, or at least me, I'll speak for myself. I won't say we all, but I've talked to enough other people to know that a lot of people deal with that imposter syndrome of, hey, in my case, I always look at it and go, the only reason I've had success is because of my team. And then somebody slapped me across the face at the last, not literally, but figuratively slapped me across the face saying, well, duh, like we're all successful because of our team. Right. And like, I always felt like it was, I had nothing to do with this. I'm not, but trust yourself. Like you're going to take care of it. You're going to do the jobs, right. Push yourself forward, put yourself in the right position to do it. And that's, I think one of my biggest lessons recently, especially, was trust yourself. And that's kind of been why I've redirected as well. It's like, hey, I can go out and get some solid partners, build a good team. I've got experience. I've got knowledge. I've done this multiple times now. Let's go forth and conquer. Love
it. Great. And for the busy working professional who is working toward financial freedom, what is your last tip for them?
Get yourself in a community of like-minded people. I don't care if you're a veteran and it's in my community. If you're not a veteran, it's Jacob Gino. I don't care where it's at. Get yourself in a community of like-minded investors that are pushing themselves forward. You are the 5 people you hang around with most. So if the 5 people you hang around with most do nothing but watch football on the weekends, drink beer, and put their feet up and watch Netflix every night, then guess what you're going to be doing? You're probably going to be putting your feet up, watching football, drinking beer, which there's nothing wrong with doing. But if that's all you do, there's a problem. So surround yourself with other people that are doing the deed and making it happen, and get yourself into that type of environment, because you cannot help but to push yourself forward when you're around those types of people.
Got it. Love it. We'll all get together and do the deed.
That's right.
No, good stuff. You've been an outstanding guest. Great episode. I'm going to go download that book on Audible. I got some driving ahead of me in a couple weeks, so I'll listen to it on the drive. But thanks, Adam, for coming on the show.
Absolutely. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
All right. That was an awesome show with my good friend, Adam, doing big things in our post-military careers. It's a ton of knowledge, ton of fun on that last episode. He also said he's going to be dropping a podcast soon, so look out for that. It's going to be a ton of more value added to the community, and definitely love to go out and support him. If you like this episode, please like it, share it, give us a good review. If you thought it was valuable, we definitely appreciate that as we're trying to grow our community here. And if you're interested in investing with us and seeing what we do, check out tricityequity.com to learn more and connect with like-minded investors. You can join our Facebook group, Honolulu Multifamily and More. We're also holding our own first conference. We're teaming up with another group called Band of Brothers, and we're going to be doing a huge event out in Ko'olina, Hawaii, on the island of Oahu. It's going to be July 21st through 24th, 2022. Super excited about that. It's going to be at the Four Seasons. We're going to go over multifamily investing, how to get it started, how to build a good portfolio, everything we've learned out of 9 deals. We're going to lay it all out there, full transparency. You're going to leave a ton of actionable information and tons of networking with high-level individuals. We're also going to be going over short-term rentals and buying and scaling franchises, and what our strategy is going forward as Tri-City Equity Group continues to evolve as investors, and we want to bring as many people along through this journey. So we'd love to see you out there. The Hawaii Millionaire Mindset Conference, it's codenamed Blueprint. It's going to be a lot of fun, and you can't go wrong with Ko'olina. Just Google it. It's an amazing resort, and we got some discounted room rates there. And right now we're doing early bird special on the tickets as well. So love to see you out there. And again, see you next time.